Welcome in, everybody, to our latest live broadcast. Today, it is the 22nd of August, 2024. It's Thursday, and we've got a Wi-Fi router review, a very affordable one. In fact, let me just show you right out of the gate. Wait till you see what you're going to get here. This is a pretty good deal. Now, first of all, there are two different types of people here on YouTube. Those who want only the latest and greatest, most expensive, bleeding edge, over the top, more than they'll ever use hardware. And then there's the rest of us, right? The folks who are looking for a great value for something that will meet our needs for quite a while and be very cost effective. That means you don't want the latest and greatest. You want the generation before. That price goes significantly down, even though just two and a half years ago, that was considered bleeding edge. So it's had time to mature. So let me show you this GL.iNet router called, the model's called a Marble. And I want to just set a precedent here for what we're going to look at today. So if we go over to our screen capture to Amazon's webpage, this is the GL.iNet model number GL-B3000, or simply called Marble. Wi-Fi 6, it's not 6E or Wi-Fi 7, and most people would have no benefit for 6E or 7. It's wall mountable, it's a photo frame. You can stick like Lego type devices on it. Look, $89.90. You can apply in a $25 coupon there and reduce that down. $25, let's say it's 90, that brings it down to what? 75, $65. That is an incredible value. So what is it exactly? It is a small router. You can see there's only 2 LAN ports on it. It's not a portable router. So you're going to have your cable modem or your internet in the WAN port, wide area network. You've got your DC 12-volt power adapter, a reset button in case you forget your login information, and then 2 LAN ports. If you've got more than 2 wired devices, then you'd want to switch. But here's why it only has 2. The whole point of this is to be subtle. It's not to have a bunch of cables running out of it. It's bad enough you need to have power and you need to have internet plugged in. Okay, so those are the only 2. Ideally, you won't even use the 2 LAN ports if you want this thing to be on display. You could set it up on your desk like a photo frame. You could hang it on the wall. And you can get complete coverage in most places up to, let's see, in the package, you get the documentation, the device, thank you card, router stand, power adapter. You get an Ethernet cable, and you get base converters, depending on how you want to mount the base. There's an adhesive pad and some screws and a wall mount if you want to secure it to the wall. And they have another router called the Flint, and then there's just a comparison between the 2 models. This one's more decorative. This is more ideal for people who don't want the tech to show. Right? People just think it's a photo frame on the wall. And if you don't have a bunch of cables running into it, it just looks like that's just what the photo frame needs, right? It would need some kind of internet connection and power to cycle through the photos. It supports OpenVPN and WireGuard. It's got Bark and AdGuard home parental controls using OpenWRT, meaning you use the OpenWRT firmware. And we'll show you how to do all this, but this is pretty exciting. I think finally, we're getting into an area for regular folks who don't want all these antennas sticking out. They don't want a spider-looking box that's 2 feet wide sitting on their counter. They want something more subtle, and they don't want to spend a lot of money for it. So if we look at the reviews, we got 9 ratings, averaging a 4.7. So we're out of the gate here really, really good just from random reviews from others. And let me go back over to the chat room and say hello, everybody. I was getting a little too excited today, so I wanted to hurry up and give you the overview of what we're looking at today. And when we unbox this, we're going to need to run it through a browser to control it. So I thought I would bring out the old spaceship. So I went ahead and upgraded that to Windows 11 along with all the latest Windows updates and driver updates. So we should be good to go for today's demonstration. I figure since I have to move all the PCs over to Studio C, why not fire each one up, get it updated? There hasn't been a BIOS update on this since 2022, which is weird for an ASUS Strix B460i motherboard. Usually ASUS has a lot more updates, but Since the last time I turned it on, there's still the latest BIOS update I put onto it when we did the video a while back. So you can find the video for this build with Mitch and I building the spaceship build. And watch down here if you haven't seen this before, because when I turn this on, there's a little light that shines down with the Segatep logo. Anyway, we'll get back to that. We need to use something to hook up to this and configure it. So there it is. Now, back over to my chat room. Let's see. Scroll, scroll, scroll. Bear with me for a second. I want to catch up to you guys. Trevor says hello. There's Dan Nilsson and Blade, Easy Otter. Poorly Boy says hello. Ray Gallagher says hello. Hello to William Denton and Charles Vandola. Michael Sayers and John Paul Bacon say hello. Welcome in, guys. Our thanks to the folks at GL.iNet for sending us to us in exchange for a review with no other strings attached, so we're free to speak our mind. I just see this as being a brilliant idea. It's not for everybody, but then what is? Almost anything I review on this channel is not for everybody. Let's see. Gil Garcia saying hello. There's Essential working too hard. And of course, Marlena in the chat room doing all the administrative work here on the channel, which is a lot of work. Daryl Loftus says hello, as does Charles Purdy and James Carter and Brian Woodley and Scott. Doman 2000 says hello. Arnold Albert says hello. And there's Brian Woodley and Matthew Burden all saying hello. And it looks like a renewal membership from Matthew Burden, who's now a member for 27 months. That is so awesome. Thank you for supporting the channel and being so loyal to the channel. He says, hello all. Hope you're all having a wonderful day today. Thank you, Matthew. David Graham says hello. There's our friend Luke Greeny in Vermont and Mark Gaines in Northern Ireland saying hello. YTJ says hello. Captain Blinsky joining us, as is Ron Barnish, all saying hello. Eddie Casanova, John Williams, welcome in, welcome in. YTJ says hello in Korean. Well, you're joining us from South Korea. That'd be cool. Graham Bell says hello. Hey guys, welcome in. I think, we're trying to keep videos moving while we're in the process of moving from this location to a completely different location. And the move is not happening all at once. It's sort of trickling in. So after today, after we demonstrate using this spaceship, that'll get moved over. And then we've got more to go through, trying to make the best of both worlds as we transition from Studio B to Studio C. So that's why you're seeing a wide variety of different PCs up here on the counter, as well as a wide variety of products that I'm trying to get through the reviews. Not just mini PCs, not just routers, not just NASs. We're trying to mix it all up because some people aren't interested in some of these items. And so we don't make videos for everyone. We make videos for the people who are interested. I don't know if you're interested or not, but I think this is pretty darn cool. As you can see, it's still shrink wrapped. So I have to open it up, and I thought, let's do the unboxing live. We started a little late today, had a lot of things going on, and just trying to catch up. A happy birthday to our friend Buster out there in Scotland. It's really not his birthday for another 8 days, but I want to tell him happy birthday every single time I see him until after his birthday, just to make it memorable. So if you see Peter Laycock in the chat, please say happy birthday to him. We call him Buster. All right. Thank you, of course, to Oystein and Frankie B for their generous support of the channel, as well as all of our members. All right. So let's get this unboxed. I want to make sure I'm on the right video feed. There I am. So I don't have any of my tools here. Let me rephrase. My tools are packed up, so I have to go through all the packages they're in to find them. So I'm going to try and use my fingers as much as possible. I don't think I need any tools for this video, other than cutting through the cellophane here. All right. Now, GL.iNet is the one who makes all those travel routers I've been looking at, right? Well, it was a competitor in there as well, but I really like the GL.iNet. I like how they work. I like the open WRT firmware. It's an open source router firmware. I will always go to GL.iNet's website to get their official version, but you don't have to. So if there is a different version of OpenWRT you want to play with, you absolutely can do that on this router. It's a lot of freedom and a lot of ways to break your system, or your routing system, but that's why I just stick with what they offer. And they're always going to offer the latest one that's official, that's been tested. So let's take a look in the box. Should match everything we've seen from the Amazon page. I'm always curious how big or how small something is compared to the pictures. Okay, so here's how it arrives. We've got a connect with me with a QR code. Got a quick get started guide. We've got some pull tabs. Look at this. That's handy. And in here, this is too light to be the router. What is this? We have some kind of a screen protector. And we have like a photo to put in the photo frame. Insert the left side first. Huh. I'm not reading the directions. I'm just going to do this intuitively. Got some foam. So apparently this is going to go on to the router. Now, in the box remaining, we have the router itself. We have the Ethernet cable. We've got this stand or mount. Our wall adapter. This is one of those where you can change the end out for the plug of your country. This is the US plug, and that usually just goes on a little sideways, and then you twist it, usually. So I've got it upside down. There it goes. It only twists like a quarter of an inch, not even a quarter of an inch. So that's good to go. We've got some screws if you want to wall mount the router, and a flat RJ45 Ethernet cable that looks pretty long. That looks longer than a standard 6-foot, but I don't know exactly what the length is. It's probably in the details and the specs that we looked at. Let's get the router out of here. Now the router is actually a lot smaller than I thought it would be. That's not a bad thing. Once again, the idea here is subtlety. And as you can see, we've got what looks like some mounting. What's that work? Weird. We've got a mounting plate. I think that's what that is. This just goes, insert the left side first, and then insert the right side. Oops. I think that's just a mounting plate. Let's see, left side first. Side's the left side. Insert the left side first. Oh, I see. Now, does it matter if it goes one way or the other? Well, I'm going to guess it says GL.iNet on the frame and it says GL.iNet on the router. I don't know which way's up and which way's down, but I'm going to assume that you want all your text facing the same direction. If it wants me to insert the left side first, that's the side away from you, and I hold it this way. Insert the left side first. Okay. And then it just locks in. And then it looks like a picture frame, right? Getting the idea? No antennas, no techie stuff. You have a photo in there, let's say. And you can have it cycle through your photos. There's an optional, let's see here. I've been super excited to see this. This looks like a screen protector. The reason I've been super excited to see this is to see some innovation in the router space. It's not just bigger with more antennas and RGB lights, which is what a lot of the manufacturers are doing on their high-end expensive routers. Instead, we've come out with GL.iNet has come out with a brand new model that's extraordinarily affordable and probably meets the needs of most people. But let me take a look over at the homepage, see how GL.iNet represents this model. Again, they're called Marble. And if we go to the link that's in the chat room, it will bring you to this page right here. And here we'll see Meet Marble. You can see on this example, it's got the little fold out so it can sit on a desk. You see the shape of that right there? I don't know where that piece is. Is that what we just put on? Yeah, that's okay. I was wondering how they did that, but it's the piece we just put on. It's the frame, essentially, that we've installed. So if we go back and look at this piece, there's these legs that come out. If you want to, because you can wall mount it, and then you would tuck the legs in. Like so. Let's get this stuff out of the way. Screen protector. I'm not quite sure why there's a screen protector, but I'm sure it's all explained in the documentation. So we can get to that later. Our documentation. I'll just set it over here. Got a very limited counter space, trying to make the best of it. All right, let's go back over to their website and again see how they are promoting this. Wi-Fi 6 router for modern home. Watch the video. All right, let's see what happens. Clearly on YouTube. Interesting, they just put it on a coffee table. I wouldn't do that, you'd trip over the wires. Here's some mounting examples. That's what that plate is for. A pretty comprehensive video. I wasn't expecting it to be this long. You see the blocks that they added? There's a piece you can add to this. I think it's sold separately. It can stand upright on your desk. It can sit like a photo frame. You can hang it on the wall. It's so versatile. And that's the GL.iNet Marble. And you'd think something like that would be a lot, I would think that's a lot more money. We got dimensions written here. Does it say the square footage? Let's see. Toy Brick Creations. Parental controls. Well, that's all open WRT. Okay, so All of our specifications are here. With regards to coverage, it's really hard to say with any router other than what the maximum possible coverage could be under the perfect scenario, which is generally how they do that, they being router manufacturers. Everybody's environment's different, and therefore it's very difficult to know if you will get enough coverage depending on how big of a place you've got, what it's made of, how much other network congestion you've got from neighbors, such as in an apartment building. You know, you have a lot of Wi-Fi bandwidth usage of channels being used in an apartment or a crowded space. And then, of course, there's how you're using it, how many devices you're connecting to it, and where you place it. It's all going to be impactful on any wireless router's range and performance. Okay, so once you get that out of the way. Now, let me go back over to camera one here. Let's get this thing plugged in, turn it on, connect to it, see if there's an update. Take a look at the interface. And if you have questions while I'm doing this, feel free to just pop your questions in the chat. I will do my best to provide answers if I know them, or if not, I can try and search for them. Dean Summersheim says hello. Welcome in, Dean. There's Blackwatch saying hello. Paul Howe joins us. Frank M says hello. Curtis joins us. Andy Kane joining us. Okay. Since you're working too hard, said on Amazon, this was $69.02 with sales tax after the discount. Where do you see it? Now remember, this is the first time I'm seeing it too. I'm just genuinely enthusiastic and looking forward to this. So here we go. Now, if you're a very demanding user, probably won't be enough for you. You're going to need to spend, well, on the TP-Link router, we spent $550. You know how many of these we could buy? Anyway, let's get it plugged in and turn it on. If you live in an apartment, if you lived in a manufactured home, in other words, if you're in a regular, standard, everyday, average household, this is probably all you need. However, there's always exceptions. I don't know. What are we supposed to do with this? That's supposed to come out? What do we do with it? I don't know. There's a blue light that just came on the router. Right there. So my guess is, by looking at this, that there's not an LCD. I thought there was an LCD and that this would be a digital photo frame. What it appears, from what I can gather, is you're supposed to print out whatever photo you want of your own and just place it in here. And because it's a picture frame, I'm getting it because it's a picture frame. Picture frames have glass to protect your picture, right? So that's what that little screen protector that I saw was for. Like that. And then we take the, think of this as the glass. To the peel, both sides. One tab pulls off one side, one tab pulls off the other side. And the plastic is pretty sticky. Once we remove the plastic from this, you see I got it started, and it gets so much stuff around me. And it, there we go. The little tab broke off. Okay. Now it's much clearer. And then you'll use that to protect your photo. That makes sense. I'm getting it. I was really hopeful that this was a digital photo frame, because that would have been cool. But that's all right. Like I said, there's lots of different options you can use. You could just take the router and put it on a desk. Look how small the router is. You don't have to use, this is just a photo frame. You're going to hang it just like you would a photo, or put it on the desk, just as though it were a photograph, like any other photograph you might frame and hang on the wall or put on your desk. But hidden behind it is your router. That's still really clever, and I'm sure that's why the price is so low. If that was a digital photo frame, I bet they'd have to ask twice the price. LCD screens are not cheap. Now to connect this, let's see, we need to go from, think about this, we'll go from our router into this other router. So I will steal the Ethernet cable from back here. And we're going to plug that. And as I grab it over here, we're going to plug that into the WAN port. Once I untangle all of my cables, it'd be a while. What a mess. What can you do? All right, we're getting there. All right, finally I got it. So we'll plug this in. It's a lot of work. To the blue port. That'll be our modem. In this case, I'm plugging the router into another router. And modern routers, this is the benefit of upgrading, can auto-sense and configure themselves in that NAT address translation conflict that we're creating potentially. And then I need another cable, and we want to run that cable from the router to the spaceship to configure it. Once we configure it for Wi-Fi, we could, in theory, then just use the Wi-Fi and get rid of this extra cable that we're going to use temporarily just to log in. So I've got this green Ethernet cable right here. We'll go into LAN port 1 or 2, doesn't matter. Like so. And bear with me. Here we go. Right back to this port here. And we'll turn this bad boy on. See that logo down here? Maybe you will. Maybe you will if I cut the lights. You see the glow? Forward. So that's coming out from down here. I feel like we need to back everything up. Hey, that looks pretty cool. Let's switch over to the HDMI input and see if we can find this router and log into it. So to do that, I need to go to HDMI input. Let's see, is that working? It did work, first time. Holy cow. All right, so mouse working, yeah. Let's do, I'm gonna find this. Oh, it just automatically, I just opened the browser and it took me immediately to the login page to the router. How cool is that? Okay, so that's our router. Choose your language, English, next. Set up a password, all right. Minimum 10, come on, man. Maximum of 63. Now this is just to log into the router to make changes. Come on. Let's try this again. Prevent weak password. Turn that off. You shouldn't, but I'm doing it for demonstration purposes. So this is not the Wi-Fi password. This is the login password to make changes inside of the router. That's why it's got to be secure. You don't want somebody changing your configuration or messing with your router settings. Upgrade reminder. Oh, let's do the upgrade. Look at that. It's even upgrading the firmware on its own. Thank you. That's pretty darn cool. That's what we want to see. Firmware verification. Upgrading. Wow, this is fantastic. Why doesn't every router manufacturer have it run like this? Now, I do realize there are some. And of course, the older the router is, the less likely it's going to have this functionality. You know, we've got to do things manually. But I've got to say, we're starting off with a bang here. Everything looks fantastic. And I have no suggestions for improvement at this point. Everything looks great. OpenWRT is pretty standard. That's the other benefit. Let me come back to camera one and put us on in the corner there. We're waiting. I guess that's still too big, isn't it? Like this. Johnny Weld says hello, and there's V Manor saying hello. Frank M says, does it have a phone connector? I don't know what a phone connector is or what you think you need it for. So you'd have to explain to me what it is you think. What are you calling a phone connector? I don't understand. Use a home phone. Use a home phone. No, this is a router. This isn't a cable modem. What you're referring to is a service provided by your internet service provider that deals with the phone plugging directly into your cable modem. This is, no, it does not. I can't think of one router that does, other than what your ISP, your internet service provider. Those are the only ones I've ever seen. And I don't even see landlines anymore. So for you to have a landline is quite unusual. The manufacturers, they want to make what sells. That's all. Not much demand for a home phone landline anymore. Okay, so other questions? John Paul Bacon says he's got CenturyLink. So if you have that sort of service, this does not replace your modem. This is a router. This is a Wi-Fi router. So let's say you have one of these cable modems from your internet service provider that is also a Wi-Fi router. In that case, you would plug this router into that router. But I would ask you, what is the problem you're trying to solve? That's my first question. Before you start buying things, why are you buying it? What is it you're hoping to achieve? You can log into your ISP's cable modem router, disable the wireless radio on it, and then plug this in just as you would a computer into the back of your cable modem router and use this as your Wi-Fi router. And you continue to use the cable modem and the phone functionality, if that's what you have, on the modem. You must have the modem. And that's just an optional thing they've built into the modem. And routers themselves are typically just a way to connect computers in your Internet of Things, security cameras, appliances, thermostat, garage door opener, all that can connect to your Wi-Fi. Okay, so hopefully we're clear on that. We do have a video on Wi-Fi that kind of goes through the details of how it works and why it works that way. We have two, one from Ingenious and one from JJ from Asus, discussing all the inner workings of it. And those are good starting points to understand what Wi-Fi does and what it doesn't do as well. All right, let me go back to full screen over here. Let's get rid of camera one for a second so I can see what's going on. And full screen. Oh, I just closed out my full screen. Come on, Carey. Hold on a minute. Full screen. There we go. All right, so put in the admin password. Fine. Okay, so this is what your interface looks like. Now we have a little, this draws my eye right here, this hazard. Time zone. Okay, he wants to know time zone. Router time. It's in Apparently Asia. See what happens. It's got me as Los Angeles. Usually Phoenix has its own. Panama, Phoenix right there. Why? That should put us at 238, 236. That works for me. That should be happy. So you can see we've got our Ethernet port 1 and Ether port 2, the port status. You can use this as a repeater to extend your Wi-Fi so you're not replacing your router, or as an access point. On the wireless side, we can configure if we want the wireless even on. In other words, we can turn it off. You can do this on all wireless routers, by the way. You can turn that wireless radio right off if you're going to use something else for Wi-Fi. You definitely don't want both of them operating independently, but if one's connected to the other and it's an extension of what you have, then of course you would configure it accordingly. And we have things like transmit power and all this other stuff that you would normally just leave as the default. You can change the SSID and password if you want to, or you can just use what's set for you. All of these modifications, you have to hit the modify button to make these changes, okay? But I'm just gonna hit cancel for right now. I'm happy with all that. That's your 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi, and then this is your 5 gigahertz guest network, which is off by default. The guest network can connect to your Wi-Fi and access the internet, but they cannot access any other computers, files, printers. It's isolating them to a strict connection to the internet only, not to the computers in your building. So you would put any Internet of Things like your thermostat, your Nest, your garage door opener, MyQ, your refrigerator, your dishwasher, your washing machine, your barbecue grill, whatever wants Wi-Fi access, your security cameras, put them on the guest network. And then they can't see each other. And if anybody were to hack into it, they can't go anywhere. They're stuck in an isolation. So that's what the guest network is for. It's off by default. We can see who's connected to this computer and we can block them, or we can do other things and change the name of the client device. We can change if it's a computer or a phone, maybe it's somebody's cell phone's connected. Just an example, there's all your VPN information and Tor, which I think is all a waste of time, but some people do things differently than me. So for them, this is for them. Okay, I won't get into it, but I don't think VPNs give you the security that you think they do. But that's all right. Under applications, we've got the plugins. Dynamic DNS is pretty clever if you ever need it. Good Cloud, AdGuard Home. AdGuard Home is a network software that blocks ads and tracking. That's pretty cool. The problem is if you enable this, it's quite possible some websites won't work. And if the websites aren't working 3 months from now, you might forget that you set this. And you'll be trying to diagnose a problem you'll never be able to fix until you turn this off. So there's an upside and a downside to it, but as long as you're aware that this may cause some websites to not load correctly, it's no big deal to switch it off. But sometimes bad updates are, have false positives, and what didn't work may all of a sudden start working. So I won't use that, but you can if you want to. There's parental controls. I don't need any parental controls. You might. There's a local version. The Bark version is provided and managed by a company called Bark on their own system. It offers the option to filter applications and websites with a single click and monitor request history. Please be aware, for an additional subscription fee, it is payable directly to Bark, not to GL.iNet. Some kind of partnership. Zero Tier is a secure virtual peer-to-peer Ethernet network accessible from anywhere. So it's like getting your own remote access, if you will. I'd be interested in how this works. It's a beta, and I've never heard of it before. And you should be able to make a tunneled connection, it appears, in something called Zone Tier Central, which doesn't load a page. I don't know what that's all about. Zero Tier. Yeah, maybe I'm not getting out for some reason. Oh, it shows right down here, I've lost my internet connection. Don't know why. How am I doing this if I don't have an internet connection? It's available Wi-Fi, okay. No internet access. Your device can only access other devices on your local network. Oh, well, that explains that. Okay, so that means our initial setup is not set up correctly. Let's take a look here under System, Upgrade. We can check. Should be a way to check. We can upload the file manually if we download it from GL.iNet support page, current firmware, review version. Where is the, it says firmware is up to date. Okay. But I'd like to check it again. Doesn't seem to be a check button. System overview talks about LED. You can turn it on or off. It's not like it's that bright. But if you really want it to look like a picture, you wouldn't want any LEDs on it. This looks like the onboard memory that hosts the open WRT software, how full it is, its current status, how many apps are installed, how long we've been up, 10 minutes, all right. The host name, of course, you can change that to whatever you'd like it to be. The architecture is an ARM-based processor, it looks like, and open WRT version and kernel version. All right, so all that information is in there. Now, when it comes to internet, let's take a look and see if we can configure. We're missing something. LAN port 1, change the LAN port to a WAN port. No, I don't want to do that. And there's the repeater function. I don't want to do that. Interesting. Here. WAN clients, where's my WAN? WAN clients to 0. Did I plug in the right thing? So this is our LAN ports. What I'm wondering is where's my WAN port configuration? It's all wireless information, client information, VPN I'm not going to use. Can we just reboot the system? There's a reset, upgrade overview, advanced settings. You can modify provided as is, not responsible. Okay. Wow, I don't know what the heck's going on here. So I guess I'm going to do this the old-fashioned way. Let's go back over to camera 1 here temporarily. We did have this working. Let me bring the lights back up. We did have this working in getting internet access. I can't help but wonder if it needs to be unplugged and plugged back in again. So anytime you have a connection problem to the internet, it's always the first step is to turn it off and back on again. And you want to wait a good 30 seconds to 1 minute. You want the capacitors on board to slowly drain out any power they have. Otherwise, it might keep the settings that we're trying to reset. So let me plug this back in. And let's give it a minute to reinitialize. And then I need to go back to full screen over here. So bear with me for a second. Take a quick look in the chat. If you have any questions, throw them into the chat room. I'll see what I can do to answer. Elvin Shaver and Gaboto say hello. Tim Teal joining us says hello. Welcome in, guys. Kelly Stewart says hello. I love seeing all those happy birthday busters. He's going to see this later. If he's not in here now, he'll watch it later. All right, let's take a look. We'll go full screen for me. And I want to close the browser out. Let's just close it. This bothers me because I want to see us connect. I want to see this little globe down here become a little screen, a little monitor screen. So I'm missing something in the config. I want to just make sure my plugs are all the way in. I got the right ones. Yeah, that is correct. And one, LAN 2. Got power. Light is blinking. And let's see. I'm plugged in all the way back here. Sometimes just taking the plug out, plugging it back in can make a difference with the communication. This isn't something that happens often. I think what's happened is this is because we've connected a router to a router. Most routers will auto detect that and switch the mode of the router. It's not that big of a deal because all I have to do, I mean, technically, if you really want to be a nerd, is just remove the WAN cable that's coming from our router. I can reach the plug. So one of the problems with this design seems to be getting your finger between the router and the picture frame, because that's where the clip is on the Ethernet cable. Is a little bit difficult. So if we don't use the WAN port and we just use the regular LAN port, then all of the DHCP and IP addresses are coming from our main modem router. Now, for some of you, that may have been a whole nother language. What's he talking about? IP addresses and DHCP and, you know, network address translation, NAT. Well, the bottom line is when you plug a router into a router, things can get a little hairy. At least going into the WAN port of a second router. You generally don't want to use that unless you know enough to get into the router to configure it appropriately. So instead, by not using the WAN port, the router is then configured to simply become another device on the network with the main router taking control of everything instead of dividing control between the routers. You can do it either way. The simplest way is to let one router have control of everything, in my opinion. So with that done, we still don't have a connection here, which is just baffling. And let's see. Yeah, I'm still seeing that globe. So something on the router. So I can't remember what was our IP address. Let's go to command line, CMD, enter, type in IP config and look up the address of our gateway. The gateway is the router. Two 168.1. That worked. No cable detected. Pre-setup. Change to a LAN port. WAN port status. Using as a WAN port. I see. You can switch it over to a LAN port. Ah, so I didn't have to physically move the cable. Pre-setup. What does this mean? Ethernet settings. DHCP. Address assigned. Higher network machine. Trying to figure this out. Bear with me. Let me get rid of camera 1 so you can see what I'm doing. Whoops. Full screen. Ethernet 1, Ethernet 2. Repeater is disabled. Connect. That's interesting. So you can use this as a Wi-Fi extender. So I'm looking for a WAN setting and I don't see it. And this is a OpenWRT thing, and it's my lack of familiarity. Network mode. Do we want to use it as a router, or do we want to use it as an extender? Do we want to use it as an access point? So let's say we connect to a wired network and use this. Try to set up access point. To set up access point, you need to connect an Ethernet cable to the WAN port. Oh, okay. Well, let me move it back. I didn't realize. Silly me. There I am, working harder than I need to. Now, I'm used to the firmware on the bigger name brands like, Netgear, Asus, TP-Link. I'm working with GL.iNet with OpenWRT. I'm not an open source kind of guy. Open source stuff is great for home lab stuff. And if I had some other form of income where I could sit at home and play all day, I would totally be into it. But, if I was 17 or 16 years old at home after school and didn't have to pay any bills, I could love playing with a lot of this open source stuff. But, at least here we've got the open source software provided by the company, meaning it's been tested to be compatible. Let's see what happens here. No internet connection. Find a network to reconnect. Why am I not getting an internet connection? Create your own private. Let's put it back as a router. Oh, it's already there. Let's reset and reboot. It was working, so I don't know if after the firmware we had a problem. Resetting the firmware takes about 4 minutes. All right, well, while we're waiting, this is what you would do, by the way, if you were going to get rid of the router, you wanted all your private passwords and such removed and reset to out-of-the-box settings. This is how you do it. Let me go back to camera 1. Okay, let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. Jeff and Safari, say hello in the chat. There's Marsman. Saying hello. V Manor says he's using this router as an access point. How do you like it so far? Do you like it? Do you think you got a good value for your dollar? It's very different, very, very novel. I like this. Yeah, this isn't about power. This isn't about range. This is about aesthetic, and it's about meeting your needs. A lot of times people go way over the top. Somebody's buying an 800 horsepower Dodge Hellcat. When you see them for sale and they're a couple of years old, they have like 3,000 miles on the odometer. They're not even driving it. It's like a showpiece. If you can afford that, hey, good on you. But for the rest of us, we need something affordable, attractive, different, not some unsightly black or white box with antennas sticking out all over it. This is a great solution. I just love the concept. And I know with my background using other GL.iNet travel routers, I like their products, and all their products are very aggressively price competitive. So if you ask me, would I recommend this router to a customer? Yeah, using OpenWRT, absolutely, because then you don't have to worry about the company not supporting it anymore. As long as the community in the OpenWRT community keep updating it, you can always update your firmware at your discretion if you have that level of knowledge. I think most people that would want something like this probably just want something basic. They probably don't have an in-depth understanding of Wi-Fi. They're more into fashion and design. It's a different mindset from an engineering mindset. And this would be ideal for them. People that live in smaller homes, manufactured homes, apartments, somewhere where you don't need 3,000 square feet covered, somewhere you're not transferring massive files internally with Wi-Fi 6E or Wi-Fi 7, which you're only going to get with Windows 11. It will not work in Windows 10. And on top of that, it only works to transfer large files. It won't make your internet any faster. So who really needs Wi-Fi 6E and Wi-Fi 7? I guess the people buying $550 routers, because they're nerds. This is for regular folks. Not that nerds wouldn't enjoy it. All right, let's take a look here one more time. We're going to set this whole thing up from scratch again. So this will be just like we're starting over. Let's get rid of camera 1 once more so I can go full screen and see what the heck you guys are seeing full screen. Now, we choose the language. This is all going to be familiar. It's just like it's brand new out of the box. Hello. That's hilarious. It remembers that from last time. Turn that off. I don't need that. Hit apply. I don't know if I need to turn that off or not. It's just trying to save you from yourself. Ethernet 1, Ethernet 2. What's my WAN port? WLAN clients. What is this? Well, this is the SSIDs, the wireless networks. So you've got a 2.4 and a 5 SSID, and then on the guest, you have the option of a 2.4 and or a 5. So you could have a total of 4 broadcast networks here if you want to configure it that way, but out of the box, you'll see it's just set with the basic one set up. We go over to system and select our time zone again. So once more, we'll find America, and then alphabetically after America, we're looking for the P's for Phoenix right there, and apply and sync. Okay, so that should be happy. So I'm still a little baffled why down here it says no network access. What am I missing? This is the spaceship computer. No internet connected. Find a network to reconnect. What am I missing? So spoiled, and I'm used to the routers doing this automatically. And I don't have a WAN port. Weird. Multi-WAN. Interface status. Interface priority. I will tell you, I've been very impressed with OpenWRT because I've been using it on the portable travel routers that GL.iNet makes. And I don't generally need to dig this deep. Usually just plug it in and it works. So I'm wondering how this is different. Network address translation settings, enable full, I don't know. Let's see what happens. I'm waiting for this globe down here to become a little monitor. So that'll tell us we have internet access. Right now, it says no internet connection. So that bothers me. Let's turn this off. I don't know why. Thought maybe we're having a network address translation problem, but I think what we're having is we have a failure to communicate. Let's go here. So here's what concerns me. I see Ethernet 1, I see Ethernet 2, and then I see repeater. But repeater is generally just for Wi-Fi, not for a wired connection. Repeater is disabled. Let's turn on repeater, which means we have to connect it to a Wi-Fi network, which I think, I don't know. It's not what I was trying to do with it. Here comes all our Wi-Fi networks, right? You see this big list. Like I say, depending on where you live, this is all the traffic that's going through the air. If you're worried about radiation causing cancer, I mean, this stuff is in the room. Wherever you are, it's hard to get away from, but the levels are so small. It's not like an X-ray machine. Okay, what is the password? Let's see. Connecting. Getting an IP address, getting a gateway. It got it. Hallelujah, it got it. All right. Now you'll see that little globe right here turn to a screen. That means we have internet access. And that means if I go back, what started all this? We were looking at, now normally if you just have one router, you wouldn't have to do this. I'm complicating things by plugging a router into a router, which you don't want to do. Now let's take a look at system, was it? Wish there was a check for upgrades. So the current firmware 4.5.18. Let's see if that's the latest. So we'll type in GL.iNet Marble firmware download and see what Google Bing brings us. Brings us to the GL.iNet download center. And it says, search for your product. It's the first one right here, brand new. 4.5.18 released July 30th, 2024 is the latest. And we have 4.5.18. Okay, so that's true. We have verified that to be true. And then I was going to look under 0 tier and see if that website will work. There it is. I've never heard of it. They've got 2 million plus monthly active devices, 13,000 GitHub stars. Wow. Ensure only trusted devices are connected with unique cryptographic IDs. Wow. Create a bridge across multiple networks and firewalls. Self-healing network structure automatically adapts. So this is like if you want to remote in to your office, or you want to connect your office to another office located somewhere else in a secure way. Try for free. So I guess you get to try it for free, but you'll have to pay like a subscription to use this. Interesting. I've never heard of them. Something I need to learn more about. Anyway, let me go back over to the chat. I don't need this box open anymore. We'll close that. And we can close 0 tier. And we'll go back to our system overview. No, that's not what I want. Isn't there like a dash? Okay, that's kind of like our dashboard. Clients, VPN settings, network settings, firewall settings. Yeah. Okay, so let me go back to camera 1. Let's see what if any questions you have about this unit. That's a lot of router for 70 bucks, I'll tell you what. Whether or not it meets your needs, you'll have to tell me. The great thing when you order from Amazon is you have 30-day free returns. So if you don't like it or you change your mind, you just send it back in 30 days. Make sure you include everything that you got, put the Ethernet cable back, put all the mounting hardware back, put it back the way you got it. Put it back in the product box, not in the shipping box, just the product box. And then you can take it to a Kohl's. Quite often your options will be what's around you. Could be a Whole Foods, could be a Kohl's department store, could be UPS, with free drop off, no labels needed, no box for shipping is needed. It's free. So if you have those options when you're returning, it makes returns real easy. Now, obviously, if you live out in the sticks or something, it'll be a little different. But for those of us in the big urban areas, it's drop off. It's super easy. I can't imagine why you'd want to return it though, unless you were trying to cover a bigger range than what this is designed to cover. Frank M mentions some people get the option of going to a Staples office supply store for returns for Amazon. I've never seen that, but I guess it depends on the area that you live in, how Amazon is worked with the local large department stores there for returns. Jason Willis saying hello. There's Chris Garrett joining us. Jose Lopez says hello. Desert. Dustin Fuller says hello. Chris Garrett says he lives in the sticks and he's got 1 gig down and up fiber optic. Wish I had that. And I wish I lived in the sticks. Oh, well, maybe someday. David Collins mentioned some gas stations have Amazon lockers in the sticks. Okay, good to know. We also have Amazon lockers here in the city, of course. They usually have them around the Circle K. Andy Archer says this looks like a nice unit for the side table, but it would look better supplied with some sleeving to cover the cabling. Yeah, some kind of conduit. Yeah, I get what you're saying, but you can buy that stuff yourself, just no differently than if you hung a TV on the wall. The TV doesn't come with the conduit. They don't know if you're mounting the TV to the wall. You know what I mean? This could be sitting on a desk, and I don't know, your conduit, you can get the flexible tubing so it can move around. But if you're mounting to a wall, you could get what's called panduit. Just get the same color as the wall, or paint the panduit the same color as the wall, and it'll blend right in. So there's so many options there and different lengths. It wouldn't make sense for them to include anything given they don't know how you're going to use it. And buying flexible tubing for being on a desk or buying panduit for putting on the wall is super cheap on Amazon. You just buy the length and the color and the style you want. And they'll be in a much bigger box, because if you're buying the panduit, it's, you know, say you're buying a 3-foot stick, it'll be in a 3-foot box minimum. You can't fold it. But I see what you're saying. I'm picking up what you're putting down. Chris Garrett says he has a TP-Link 4000 with his fiber connection. It's good enough for me. Sure. Arnold wants to know why they just didn't use power over Ethernet and remove the AC power, less cables. But where would the power come from? So typically power over Ethernet is provided by the router. So is it just plug it into itself? Someone's got to have the power, right? So typically when you're plugging your source in, it's not going to be another router. Your source on this would be your modem. So your modem, unless it delivers power over Ethernet, which I've never seen a modem do before, you'd have to get some kind of an adapter, plug the adapter in with a wall wart, plug the modem into the adapter, plug this into the adapter. I mean, it's a big cabling mess. And then you could add the voltage from there into the router itself. If this wasn't a router, I would agree with you. But because it's a router, the router, once again, that typically provides the power that is distributed to everything connected to it. See the circle of logic we've got going on there? Frankie B joins us from New York. He says hello. There's Martin Hogg from Scotland joining us in the chat room. Welcome to Studio C. I don't have, we're still in Studio B here. We're not in C yet, but thank you. He says, I'm still alive. How do I know that? How do I know you're not dead in typing that? Conspiracy theorist Alex Jones suggests to me that it's not you. It's your soul typing from the beyond, communicating me from the afterlife. There's Art Bell. Hey, there he is. Bad joke. All right, let's see. Jeff H says, I'm glad we can chat again. Well, you know, when the chat gets abused, we shut it down to members only for a little while, and then we wait, see if the abusers give up and go away. Unfortunately, there is some collateral damage to innocent people that never did anything wrong, and they get punished just the same in that way that the chat is shut down. But you have to understand that the chat is a gift. And if you're in the chat for free, not as a contributor, not as a member, that's our gift. And when someone tries to damage the gift or poison it, break it, and then someone else does it and someone else does it, it's interrupting our live broadcast. It's a distraction and it's disruption. So one way to solve that permanently is to reduce the chat to members only as a benefit of members. And then after a while, depending on my mood, I might turn it back on to let everybody chat and just test the water and see if everybody's got polite, respectful decorum. Is that so much to ask? And when a number of people start misbehaving, whether it's bots or, lonely, sad people, we have little choice but to remove that from the disruption to a live broadcast. Being able to interact with me is something clients pay me for. So, unless we knew each other personally, consider this a gift. And if the gift isn't good enough, don't accept it. I don't know what else to say. But again, speaking of that, GL.iNet did send this to us for full disclosure for free in exchange for an honest review. Now, it's very difficult for any reviewer to tell you what the range of a router is. And I can't emphasize this enough. I think router reviews overall, if the reason you're watching is wanting to know how much space it'll cover, that will almost always be on the product marketing page. They'll tell you. And the number they tell you is the maximum, assuming you have a good environment without too much Wi-Fi congestion from close by neighbors, that your construction of your building and the distance you're going falls within the perfect parameters, then that is the highest speed you can possibly achieve wirelessly under the best circumstances. And there's no reviewer who's going to make it go any higher than that. It's just not going to happen. So you already know, based on the marketing, based on the advertising, it's typically on the product page. We go over here, in fact, because I was looking for it earlier and I didn't see it. And you might be interested, just like, how big is it? What's the reference? Sometimes it's hard to tell in photographs, a reference point of the size, dimensions. We can picture it in our head, but seeing it in person, I think, helps with regards to the aesthetics. Is this thing a massive thing that's going to take up half my desk? And looking at the number of ports it's got. Let me go back over to the screen capture, and let's just take a look if they mention anywhere what the range is. Because remember, when they tell you the range, oh, it's the wrong button. Hold on a second. They're going to tell you the best range possible under the best circumstances. So there you go. Let's go back over to, yeah, that's what I want. Dual band, that means 2.4 and 5 gigahertz, all of the Wi-Fi 802.11 standards. It's got display options. Behind the frame, wall-mounted table placement with a stand. 6 technology. Got the number of the amount of bandwidth. If you have a perfect, 5-bar wireless connection, that's the best you'll see in performance for data transfer on that channel. It talks about VPN support and parental controls with the ad guard. Easy install and setup. Simply install the router under the back panel of the frame, then set up effortlessly using our mobile app. See, everybody wants you to use a mobile app now. I still do it old school, but that is a point. You could do this all on your phone. Fair enough. This personalized toy brick creations, I believe, is sold separately. A customizable frame, I think that's something you do yourself, that you can, somebody's glued seashells onto it, is what it appears. Very easy to modify the frame, take your router out of it, paint it any color you want. So if you're a creative type, that's kind of cool, or just leave it as is. No USB port, and it's only got 2 LAN ports. So yeah, they're right. They're absolutely correct. Uses a 5.5 millimeter by 2.1 millimeter barrel style power connector. Says it's got good wireless performance. They got a ton of pictures. That's nice. This is a good reviewer. Wow, somebody was very thorough. Holy cow. What a wonderful review for somebody to take that much time to help complete strangers make a decision. What's in it for them? You got to appreciate people like this. I've long been surprised no one has really come up with this concept before. Okay, yeah, I agree. With it being Wi-Fi 6, advanced like Wi-Fi tech, I was able to hit speeds around 600 megabits per second, megabytes per second. Maxed out my upload connection of 40 megabits down. I rarely need another unit to set up as an access point or an access point to assist in further corners of the home. Speeds drop around to 50 megabits per second. Got to be megabytes. Should be a capital B, I think. And 5 to 7 on the upload. Not horrible, considering GL.iNet advertises this to have, here it is, 1,500 square feet of coverage. That's the size of the average American home. That would be an average 3-bedroom home with no basement, no second floor. I guess if it doesn't matter if it's got a second floor, but 1,500 square feet, I do believe. Let me test my Google, my human Google. Is this going to work for me? What is the size of the average American home? Depending on what year it was and where it was built. 2,200 square feet was the average. Wow, I'd love to live in a house that big sometime before I die. 2,299 square feet. In 1949, the typical single-family home was 909 square feet. Home size has increased over the last century, but it has been shrinking the past 5 years. The age of a home can also be a factor in its size. Newer homes tend to be larger than older ones. For example, in 2022, the average in Raleigh, North Carolina was 2,366 square feet because the typical home there was built in 1993. Wow, I thought it was 1,500. Let's try this. Average home in Phoenix. $2,260 up from $2,170. Okay, one more. What size average home Phoenix 1970s? I'll let it autocorrect my spelling. Here it is. There it is. All right, so I'm just getting old. That's all it is. Average home was 1,500 square feet, and all the homes I've lived in were all built in the 70s or 80s. How big did they get in the 80s? I'm pretty sure they stayed about the same. All right, it's just looking for numbers. Average cost, wages, cost, loaf of bread, hamburger. Okay, I didn't want any of that. I'm just looking, Phoenix 19. Interested in housing prices. That's costs. Cost. How did people afford homes in the 1980s? We busted our butts working constantly. All right, enough of that. You get my point. Depending on if you're living in a brand new house, you know, some homes have consideration for wireless routers and networking. Some homes are coming already cabled with Cat 6A or later cabling right in the walls before the drywall goes up. Depends how much you're spending, right? If you're buying a new home, you might be spending quite a bit more than the rest of us who have to buy a less expensive home, a little bit used. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with fixing a lot of stuff around the used house by myself. But buy a new house and there's a problem, it's got a warranty. I call the manufacturer, I say, fix this. It's pretty nice if you can afford it. In the meantime, depending on the size of the house, you could buy multiples of these, although it wouldn't be in a mesh network. It doesn't seem to support that. That would be cool if it did. However, maybe with a firmware update in the future, I don't know. I wish it had a mesh option. But in the meantime, you could buy another unit and set it up as an access point to this unit for extra coverage if you're not getting coverage between floors or in the far corners. And if you mount this or any Wi-Fi router somewhere in the middle of the house, you're going to get the best coverage possible. It makes a bubble, a 360-degree bubble of radio waves. Comes out of here and it goes like that. And it drops down better than it goes up. So if you have a second floor, put this in the center as close as you can get to the middle of the house on the second floor. And the broadcast down is much stronger than the broadcast up. Remember, you've got neighbors and other congestion from television, radio, emergency, and airplanes. All that stuff's going on up there, right? A lot of it's not going on down here. So if you have a second floor, put this on the second floor. Now, if you put it on the side of the house and the other side of the wall is outside, that bubble is going to be half outside. So part of your house over here may not be covered. Then you can put an access point there. But you could save your money and not need the access point potentially by simply moving the router somewhere more central. But if you're saying to me, I don't have a cable running to the middle of the house, and I got a cableless, you can continue to use the router you've got now and set this up as an access point. As long as you plug it into power, you would not need any of these cables. You would just need power cable, and you would unplug the two Ethernets, and you could use this as an access point and then let that broadcast over the house. So lots of ways that you can use this. And I think for more smaller homes, mobile homes, dorm rooms, apartments, most apartments, obviously there are big apartments, but I mean your average apartment, something like that. That's all you need. Anyway, that would be my guess. Let me go back over to the chat and see what you guys are saying. Ray Gallagher says, Carey, I swear to respect you and the chat. Listen, you're going to get what you give, right? So if you respect us, we respect you right back. That's as easy as it is. You get what you give. You want to be polite? We're going to be polite. You want to be rude? Well, you're probably going to get banned. So that's all. We just want to be treated the way we want to treat others, the way we want to be treated. All right? So appreciate you. And that's the right mindset for the community, is to have some common courtesy. I don't think it's asking that much, but you will get what you give. Generosity is met with generosity. Kindness is met with kindness. And anybody spamming, any bots, anybody being purposely derogatory or vulgar will be banned. We don't tolerate it. We're protecting the community from the toxicity and the venom people spit. Who knows their motivation? They're just lonely and sad. We don't, if they join the community and we're kind, all you have to do is say hello. Maybe you would be less sad. Maybe you would look forward to joining us here. Go do that venom spitting elsewhere. This can be your safe haven if you choose to make it so. It's your choice. Everybody's welcome. All you got to do is be kind. It's one requirement. You don't even have to be respectful. Just be kind. All right. All right, what else we got going on? Thank you, Ray. Grant, just happy I'll finally be able to connect my ATT fiber directly to my router without their junk gateway router and without using certs. Yeah, for sure. John Williams says, our house was built in 1925. It's 1,800 square feet. It'll be 100 years old next spring. If you had a house in 1925 that was 1,800 square feet, that would have been quite a big house back then. Very expensive. Arnold wants to know, why won't it work in router mode? Well, I mean, I can play with it. I'm sure it will. Clearly, I'm missing something. The interface is just a lack of familiarity for me. And so I don't believe the fault is on the device, it's on my ignorance. I mean, we haven't read any directions or instructions. I've done no research or Googled it. I'm just trying to figure it out intuitively as a 30 plus, 33-year experienced technician. It's not that I just do routers though. I do computers and I do networking and switches and wiring and supporting Windows, every version of Windows since 95, basically. Over the years, unless you're just constantly doing one thing over and over, which gets really boring, I guess that's the benefit of working as a tech in corporate America. You only work on the same equipment every day. So you get really, really good at it. You don't even have to think. Your mind could be thinking about what you got to do later when you get home while you're fixing some corporate technology that you've done thousands of times before. But as a regular field service technician, I run into all kinds of things. And a lot of it's just a one-time, I'll never see it again. And so a router like this, the closest thing I've seen to it using OpenWRT is the GL.iNet travel routers. And those I just plugged in and they worked. So I don't know if I'm doing something different here, but I think it's me, is what I'm trying to tell you. I don't think it's the router. Now, we know that it works, and we can play with it if you want to. We have a little bit of time. Is it hard to set up as an access point? And in doing so, do you have to have it hooked up to an Ethernet cable? No, you can do it through your phone, through a phone app. Yeah, you don't have to have it connected to an Ethernet cable, I believe. Let's, I don't know if this will work. Let's unplug both, well, yeah, we should be able to plug both cables. Let's try it. Fair question. In theory, as an access point, once it's configured wirelessly, then like any other device, it wouldn't need a wire, okay? But it also means it's got to transmit and receive. So that may affect performance overall. I believe this computer has a wireless card, and then we would connect to this wireless network, not the one here. So let's take a look and see if that's doable. Fair question, fair point. Let's see, what do I do? Let's go to OBS Studio. We've got to go to the desktop here. Okay. And I need to see that full screen. That's me. I don't want to see me. Sorry, guys. Well, you guys didn't see, but it's on my preview screen. Okay, so now my preview screen is exactly what you're seeing at home. And I got to use the other mouse for this. Now, in theory, see down here, we've got no internet connection. If we look for available connections, we should find, sorry, I got to hit the arrow. We should find the GL.iNet right here. There's the 5G, connect automatically. We need the security key. I don't know what the security key is. Let's look. I probably can't now that I'm disconnected. Probably not going to let me look. I got to be connected. The security key is often written on a sticker on the back of the router. GLI connecting. I need a network security key. So let me take the router out of the frame and see if it's got the password on a sticker on the bottom. And for that, I need my glasses because it's really small. So I can't see so good without my glasses. So yes, we have the model number, the SSID, the Wi-Fi key, the MAC address, the serial number, the device ID, the FCC ID, and the IC ID. Wow. All right, so the Wi-Fi key, let's try it. Capital. Now, if you change the password yourself, then this sticker isn't going to be very helpful to you. Unless you put your own little Post-it note on it. All right, is that going to do it? Let's see. Yes, we are connected wirelessly. And now let me put the router back in the frame. I suppose I could turn the router around. It doesn't have to go in with the front. think if there's a way to put it in backwards without reading the directions, you can snap it in the other way around. So that's probably what I should have done. So that sticker would have been exposed, not hidden behind the picture. All right. Now, in theory, we should be connected. Let's see. Let's close this out. And let's go to speed. No, I still have caps on. I don't even think that's a website. Where can I go? Test network speed. Fast.com. I'm saying I'm connected. Now, for those of you wondering, if we go back to camera one, I put myself in a corner. You'll see all we have is power, just power. This is acting as an access point. It just needs power. Good question. There's your demonstration. All right, right on. I like it when things work like they're supposed to. When you're live, unedited, you know, things happen. I can tell you. Let's go full screen over here for me again so I can see. There it is. All right, enough of that. Close that out. I wonder if TP-Link has a web address we can use. Let me get my glasses back. It's going to default to 192.168.8.1. That's what it says on the back. Sometimes you can search, you can go to like, sorry, not TP-Link, GL.iNet. Sometimes you can, I'm saying TP-Link and Netgear and ASUS often have a web address you can go, but 192.168, I don't even have to finish these. It's remembered it from last time. There we are. Bada boom, bada bing. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Okay. And full size, full screen camera one. Other questions? Anything else I can answer for you or demonstrate? Is it hard to set up as an, well, I mean, is it going to be hard for you? It wasn't hard for me, but we're always there to help if you have any trouble. Steve Chappelle says, I'm late to the party, Carey. Really like the picture frame aspect to the router. I think this would fix my small 1,200 square foot home. Maybe 1,200 square feet is going to push it. That means at the far edges. I mean, if you get this somewhere in the middle, close to, it doesn't have to be precise, somewhere in the middle of the house, not against any of the outside walls, somewhere in an inside wall, preferably, and put it up as high as you can get it. Otherwise, you can buy a second one and then just put them on opposite ends of the house. And then, of course, you'll be broadcasting out to your backyard and front yard, but you might want that. Jeff says that was great. Thank you. Well, right on. Well, appreciate the question, Jeff. That's what I'm talking about. That's what we're here to do. So if anybody has any other questions about how this works or something you want to see, this is the time to ask me. This is why we're live. This is a virtual classroom and product demonstration. I'm not here to sell it. I'm only here to introduce it to you. I'm here to explain to you why it's designed the way it is, at least in my understanding, who the market they're going after, what market are they going after, and how does this compare to other routers? Well, in some ways, there is no comparison for this. This idea of the picture frame is only made by GL.iNet. And I suppose if people start buying them up, you'll start seeing them from other manufacturers. So this is kind of a first of its kind in this design where the router just clips in the back. Now, you don't have to use this. You can just take the router out of here if you want and just make it like everybody else's router. Just have little pull tabs on the clips. So you don't have to use this. You can just set this down as a router. It's fine. It's even, you know, if you wanted to use these slots, it's got mounting where you can just mount this on the wall too. Just direct. Don't even use the picture frame. But if you're going to do that, there's lots of competitors that you could choose from. This is the key right here. This is what makes all the difference. To hide this, right? And it's not like a big deal to install it. I know it tells me to install the left side first. I have no idea what that means. I just pop it in there. It's super easy. Barely an inconvenience. Okay. Genix wants to know about the spaceship PC. Hopefully Mara will put a link to the build video. Mitch and I built this of the spaceship computer. We did that a while back. It's been a while. Steve says this would have been much cooler as a digital picture frame. I agree, but it would really add to the cost. But I completely agree with you. And I thought that this was a digital picture frame. Without reading the directions, without just looking at it and looking at the marketing materials, I made some assumptions. When I saw that price, I was like, wait a minute, how could it be this cheap? Well, that explains it. But, you know, taking your own photos now, you can, if you don't have a photo printer, you can use your phone to go to Walgreens or CVS. You don't even have to go there. You can do this on your phone. Take a picture you like, make sure it's this size. I don't know what size that is, but I'm sure it tells us in the documentation the size of the photo. Tell them you want it printed out as a color photo. You can pay for it online. It'll probably cost you $1.72 or $3, and it'll probably be ready the next day. And then just drive to your local CVS or Walgreens, go to the photo place, which is usually by the pharmacy, let them know you've got a package to pick up, get your photo, slide it in, put the little cover over it, a little plastic cover. You're done. Personalized. It's all you. But yes, a digital photo frame would have been cool. Totally agree with you on that. But I know that if it had that, this would be over $100. Maybe it's coming. Maybe they're working on it. Who knows? Fair point. Essential Working Too Hard says, great video as always. Mara said she already put a link to the spaceship computer in the video notes below the video. She's on it. Thank you, Mara. Showman 2000s, that's a little deceiving if you're not really carefully read the ad descriptions. That sounds like every ad ever in America. How is that different? That's just United States Marketing 101. Can you find the Starship Space on Newegg? I had to order this directly from Segatep in Canada when I ordered it. Now, that was a year ago, I think, whatever the date is on the video. That was the only way I could get it, was directly from the company, Segatep. Where it's available today, we're not making a video about the spaceship. It's just here as a way for me to connect to the router. And like I said, I had to update it. And just as a reminder, if you're new here, some of the content you've missed, such as Mitch and I building this, it's all in our digital library. We have over 1,700 videos. So if you just type in the word CareyHolzman as one word with the word build, you'll see probably over 100 builds we've done since 2008 here on YouTube. We've been doing this 16 years now. That means I'm at least 16 years old. Mara says she's checked, and this Segatep EDI case is what it's called, is available on Amazon, but Newegg is out of stock. Thank you, Mara. She is on it. Did my wacky looking train PC go to a good home? It's going to Scotland. I'm just not sure how to get it there without breaking it. I have to talk to Buster about possibly shipping it in 2 pieces and 2 boxes if he can assemble it, or if his nephew can assemble it. I prefer to send a computer assembled, ready to plug and play, but traveling that far with a unique case with no spare parts if it breaks, because I haven't quite figured out exactly how to do that, it's remained here. But it is Peter's computer. No doubt about it. I'm in possession of Buster's computer. I'm just trying to think of a way that I can ship it that far without breaking. It's two separate pieces. That's another great build you'll find here is me building the train PC years ago and updated it not too long ago with the intention to send it to Buster. He's such a generous member of the community and a benefactor to this channel. And he worked with trains his whole life. He's got some fantastic pictures of him with the train system there in Scotland. And he wants to give it to his nephew. And I want him to have it, but I don't want to ship it and have like the wheels cracked off or the plastic that connects the two pieces. Those break. If I put it back in the original box, the way I got it from Leon Lane, that means I have to disconnect all the wiring between the two pieces so they can fit in the styrofoam. And then he'll have to reassemble it, or his nephew will, which is maybe doable. But yeah, we're kind of in limbo on that right now. The big thing is moving everything here over to Studio C. It's a massive project because Studio C needed to be renovated. It's hard to move anything into a building that's being renovated. It's in the way. So once the renovations are done, then it needs to be cleaned up, and we still have, you know, setting up all the lights and cameras and sound issues. An area rug to help with sound echo. It's a lot. But every day we're a bit closer. That's the good news. We're making a little bit of progress every single day. And hopefully we'll be broadcasting from a Bear Studio C here very soon. And then we can decorate the set after we get situated in there and get a good solid internet connection that's working with good audio and video. That's priority one. And after that, once we verify everything's working, then we can start decorating the set. But it'll probably look like I'm in an empty abyss initially. And that's, of course, because my time is going to be on just getting us up and running properly. Then we can make it look pretty afterwards. Just like I build a computer, you know, all the dressing goes on after I verify it works. I learned this when I used to build Estes model rockets, and I would paint them, and then the rocket would explode on the launch pad. And eventually I learned, test fly it first, and if it survives, then paint it. So that lesson has stayed with me a long time because I put a lot of effort into painting it and putting the decals on and getting it all straight, just right, just in the middle. It looks perfect. Put it on the launch pad, it launches, and you never find it again. It's gone forever, or it blows up, or you know the chute doesn't open correctly and it hits the ground and breaks. And then you got to fix it, and then it ruins your paint. You got to paint over the, yeah. No, save all that stuff for last. So that's the goal. That's the job ahead of me during the next 10 or 12 days here. Ship the train by train. Do you know a train that goes from the United States to the UK? What train line is that? It just goes over the water. You know the continents aren't connected, right? The UK and America are two very different places and are separated by a large body of water. So we can take it to the water by train, and we can take it by train from the water, but it's crossing the water that's the problem. Maybe have UPS or FedEx box it up and get the shipping insurance. Shipping insurance, have you ever filed a shipping insurance claim in your life? Have you ever done it and ever gone through the process? Anybody here in the chat room, has anybody filed an insurance claim with FedEx or UPS ever? That's the first question. And David says, use the Polar Express. I wish there was a Polar Express in Phoenix in August. I'll tell you what, I'd ride that train myself to get out of this 115-degree Fahrenheit weather. No, insurance isn't going to work for us, all right? And anytime you try and get an insurance payout for car insurance, home insurance, they find reasons not to pay. You've got a deductible. They're going to blame you on the packing. You didn't pack it right. It's just a waste of money. So unless the package is lost and it just never shows up, the insurance is worthless. But I will say filing the claim and doing all the paperwork, it'll be a month to 60 days before you get your money. And we don't want the money. We want the train PC, and good luck finding one. They don't make them anymore. Maybe you could find one used somewhere and hope it's not too banged up. It's a pretty unique piece, and it's definitely got Buster's name written all over it. Like, that is totally Buster, and I want him to have it. There's also a train track that it sits on that's got to be shipped, and I don't want that to crack either. And if you look at how international packages are shipped, because I get them all the time, they're often not, the boxes are often not in good shape. I already demonstrated the unboxing in the members only video of a case that I ordered from Amazon where the glass was completely shattered. What are you going to do? Now, that's no big deal for me to box that back up, take it over to the UPS store and ship it back to Amazon for free and have Amazon replace it. But I'm shipping a one-of-a-kind. This train has got to be 10 years old. So the plastic on it, not as flexible as it used to be. There's no spare parts. You cannot acquire spare parts. And the wheels and everything that connects the wheels so they connect together, all that's plastic. In one good drop off the truck or onto the cargo container, onto the ship, they drop something heavy on it. What are you going to do? You can only pack it so well. Have you seen the way they unload luggage off of airplanes? Imagine that, but with packages as far as the eye can see. So I don't blame them for how, the couriers, they try and get through it as quickly as possible. And really, if they throw the package and it damages your item, you didn't pack it good enough. That's basically the rule. So unless it has a forklift hole right through the center of the package, unless the box arrives completely squished down, you likely won't have any claim. Essential Working Too Hard says you can always take it with you on your trip to Scotland. Wouldn't that be cool? I don't know. If I took a half of it as part of my carry-on and Mara took half on her part of the carry-on, would we get through TSA okay? I mean, I wouldn't be able to power it on and show them it works. And if we put it in luggage, you see how they handle the luggage. You know what I mean? They throw it around. How would we do that? It'd have to be carry-on. Then when we get to Scotland, I can put it back together and hand it over. But that's got to be a long time from now. Spending a lot of money on Studio C, and it costs a lot of money to travel. So we'll see. Peter's talking about coming out here. And if he comes out here, we should have a guest room. Just saying. Corbin says he loved Carey's build of that Leon Lee lunchbox or toolbox looking case. It was just so small. I think it was an ITX. Did I do a Leon Lee ITX? I've done the M2 case, which is crowdsourced, and then contracted out to Leon Lee to make it. And I've done the little, was it thermal take? The B1? No, InWin. The InWin B1, I think, is what you're thinking of, if it was fairly recent. David Moore became a supporter. Right on. Thank you, David. Thanks for supporting the channel. Is there a cruise line to go to the UK? Take it on my baggage to. Ooh, that's a great idea. Usually cruises, though, a round trip. Do I want to get COVID? I never had it. But when you're in an enclosed space with a bunch of people, they're not going to cancel their vacation with all the money they invested for the reservation and down payment on a trip. So they're going to be asked, are you sick? And they're going to say no. And then because you're all together on this, 2,000 people on this ship, you're breathing in and sharing all the same air. I've been on 3 cruises. 2 of them I got really sick on. Only 1 was a good time. So I'm a little reluctant to do that. I mean, I think the last one I did, I had the H1N1 virus. I thought I was dying. And I paid money to make myself feel that way. I got on the ship perfectly healthy. I obviously got it from someone else on the ship who got on anyway when they shouldn't have. And if I was in that same position, what would I have done? I'm going. You know what I mean? I don't care if I'm sick. I got this money. I got this time off. Everything's paid. I'm going. I get it. I see why people do it. And of course, we didn't have the masking back then. Yeah. I'd consider it, but I'm kind of anti-cruise. There's a stereotypical type of person who goes on a cruise. It's newlywed, overfed, or nearly dead. That's your main target audience for cruisers. Newlywed, overfed, nearly dead. Let me grab a cold Gatorade. We have just a few minutes left of the show. So if you have any final questions about the GL.iNet, if we can get this back on track, let me know. Or if you have questions about networking and routers in general, if you don't understand what they're for and why they're used, we could point you to some resources that are awesome here on YouTube, where there are other creators that have really broken it down for people to better understand what Wi-Fi is, how it works, and why you want it. We have people of all different levels of experience, right? Some of you are just beginners. Some of you are complete experts. Some of you are somewhere in the middle. And we're trying to appeal to everybody. But primarily, I want to put things in plain English as much as possible for the average person to understand. Now, whether or not they're interested, nothing I can do about that. FYI, the toolbox looking case was the Lian Li TU200B black aluminum box. Let me take a look at that because I don't remember that. I don't remember. Let's see. It's a Lian Li what? TU200B. Oh, so that, okay. Mitch has that. Yeah, Mitch has that. We did it in silver. And it was sent to my friend in Illinois, and he used it, and then he sent it back. And we upgraded it, I think, and then he used it. And then he came out to Arizona, and we replaced it. I gutted it, put all new modern parts in it. Mitch took it. Yeah, it was in silver, though. I remember this one. Mitch loves it. I'm not a big fan. Yeah, we have it in silver. Good memory, right on. I have a liquid cooler, just a little 120 millimeter liquid cooler with a blue light on it. Not that this is overheating, this is a 10600K processor. And the idea is that if we put the blue LED on with the radiator, this kind of glows blue. It gives it a really neat look. I'm not doing it because it's running hot. I'm doing it to make it look cool. So sometimes when people build PCs, we're not doing it for performance reasons. We're doing it for aesthetic reasons. And this is definitely an aesthetic build. One of the problems with this is if you try to put a video card in here because of the slope, you're going to hit this with a big video card and you won't be able to put the canopy back on. So you'd think it would make a good gaming computer, but yeah. Maybe if you used one of the AMD 8000 or 9000 series, where they have the modern integrated graphics, they come pretty close to low-end discrete graphics cards. On the other hand, you could probably install a low-end discrete graphics card if it was short enough that this slope didn't get in the way of the back of the card. But I don't have time for gaming anymore. I'm not a teenager anymore. And I'll never be able to go to Scotland if I'm playing games all day. I have to earn a living, or I need to be an heir to somebody in my family with money. And last I checked, we're all in the same place. So there's no silver spoons for me unless I go and earn it. And that's just not going to happen on its own. I have to work. That's the best game of life. Far more interesting. But anyway, Let's see, chat room. We're just a few minutes away from the end of the broadcast. Bull142 said the computer I shipped to him was the best packed of anything he's ever received. Yeah, well, you'd be surprised. Sometimes that's not enough. Yeah. But, you know, I put a lot of work into the PCs I build, and I don't want them to be damaged in shipping. They're like my personal artistic creations. It's like I'm shipping you a statue that I've carved, and I want to make sure it arrives without being cracked or broken or chipped. So I go to the packing to a level that I feel is appropriate, but I could certainly pack it even better if, for example, it needed to go across the country to another country and had to cross the ocean. I don't know that that packing would be enough. It could be, could not be. The downside is when I ship to any country, once the package arrives, the customs department of that country will impose an import fee on it, an excise tax. It's kind of like holding it for ransom. You have to pay the ransom, the receiver. Sometimes some countries offer the sender to pay the ransom. I mean, the import fee. The import fee is based on what they assess the value of the item you're sending. They ask you, how much is the item you're sending worth? And you have to use your judgment. No, it's $400, it's $1,000. Whatever you write down, they verify it. Does that sound right? Okay. So then they tell the person you're sending it to, you've got a package here. You have 30 days to give us the money, come over to the center and pick up your package and pay the fee. Or in some cases, the sender can pay the fee, but we don't know what the fee will be until their custom gets it. And every country is different. Brazil is like a 50% value of import fee. They do not want you importing stuff into Brazil. They want you to buy in Brazil and to support Brazilian jobs. This is what import fees are for, right? They're to keep the country working. Where I build something here in America, you buy it from me here in America. I profit from the sale, you profit from the quality of the goods. Everybody's happy. But it gets cheaper to make it overseas and then ship it, and there's still more profit in it. But is the quality the same? Hard to say. In some cases, yes. In some cases, no. There's some American companies that make amazing quality stuff. And just look at the cars made in the 1980s by the American car manufacturers. They're crap. They finally, figured it out. But geez, Honda and Toyota were just knocking them over with reliability. It wasn't even close. So GM and Chrysler and Ford had to get their act together, start building better quality. They would take apart a Toyota to figure out how they did what they did, and then find a way to do it that copied it without actually infringing on any patents that the car companies have. They take the concept and they rework it and they make it their own. If only this GL.iNet router was able to use mesh. I agree. I'd like to see it use mesh. As far as I know, no GL.iNet router has mesh. Because it's using OpenWRT, understand, they're not creating the firmware. GL.iNet is not making this firmware. This is an open source firmware. So if, and I don't know how they would do that, but how they could make an open source mesh option would assume, see what you're, the way ASUS uses mesh and the way that TP-Link uses mesh are different. They're not compatible. So you can't just make an open source firmware that'll work on ASUS and TP-Link at the same time and work with the mesh systems they've developed. There has to be a standard that everybody agrees on. And it's called open mesh, but only TP-Link is really using it. And when and if that ever becomes a standard that's embraced by the industry, then maybe the folks at WRT then could implement a version of OpenWRT that includes mesh once manufacturers stop trying to use proprietary designs. Listen, if you're TP-Link, you don't want your router to work with your competitors in mesh mode. You don't want that. Why would you? Look, if you're running a company and you're trying to sell a product, why would you work with your competitors to work together? There's no profit in that. Oh, sure, the customer likes it. But then when you have a problem, who are you going to call? So if you got a if you have a TP-Link router and you have a Netgear router, let's just say, and you've meshed them together, now you're having a network problem, who do you call for support? Because I guarantee you, no matter who you call, they're going to say it's the other guy's fault. Call them. See where I'm going? This gets to be a complicated mess. So if you're making routers and you put mesh on it, you want to encourage your customers to buy another one of your routers to use the mesh. Don't buy your competitor's router. Don't use a router you've got laying around. That can impact the network performance. And then the customer thinks your products are crap because they don't work well because you allowed them to connect it to some old piece of crap router. And you lost a potential sale. If they need a newer router, then have them buy your brand so that the mesh works with your brand only, and have them get rid of your competitor's crap. Just throw it away. That's the idea. Trying to generate revenue. We're trying to stay in business, pay our employees, and pay our electric bill. We're not trying to sell you a $70 router. When I say we, I mean manufacturers of routers don't want to sell you a $70 router, which they make very little profit on, and then have you use it for the next 10 years and never buy anything from them again. How could you stay in business? So the idea with mesh is it's a proprietary design overall between manufacturers that requires their products to work. How would you make an open source piece of software that could be designed to work with all the different mesh systems? And why would there be a standard mesh system? And there is, but why are they not adopting it? This is why. It's a pretty complex issue. If GL.iNet made their own firmware, they could create their own mesh system that would work with other GL.iNets. But then they wouldn't be using OpenWRT, and then you lose the benefit of the open source transparency. You can tell what your router's doing, and if you're a developer, you can make modifications to it. Can't really do that with most routers. So pros and cons. It's not all good, it's not all bad. It's got a great price, does a great job, great wireless, dual channel, guest network, VPN, parental controls. You go out for a nice dinner, it'll cost you more than this router. Just saying. No tip necessary. All right, that's going to wrap it up for us for today. I want to thank GL.iNet for sending the router for review. A shout out to our friends at Acronis who are offering 30% off of their products to everyone. RoboForm, a password manager. I couldn't live without it. Been using the product for nearly 20 years, somewhere between 15 and 20 years. I'm so happy to have brought them on board so they can offer you, as a new customer, 30% off RoboForm. It's a subscription service, which means you can install it on as many devices as you want for your account. Put it on your phone, put it on your laptop, put it on your desktop. Have your passwords with you at all times, securely safe, instead of writing them down on a piece of paper or a Word document or Excel. That's very, very insecure. RoboForm keeps it locked up and encrypted. You just have to remember your RoboForm password and make sure that's a good one. Don't forget it, because if you forget it, there's nothing RoboForm can do to help you. It is locked down, and only you can unlock it. You'll never see, and you never have seen RoboForm in the news regarding any sort of system crashes caused by an update or hacking events where they steal databases. Google it. And yet, when they review password managers, rarely do you see RoboForm listed as an option. Why? I think it's the OG of password managers, and they do it right, and I cannot tell you enough good things about it. I am not paid to tell you this. As a working technician for over 30 years in the industry, it is my opinion everybody should have RoboForm. It's cheap. And once you get used to it, you'll wonder how you ever lived without it. It has a free trial, and we have a video where we walk through the download, the installation, and example of how it's used with our friend Simon at RoboForm here in our video library. Same with Acronis, free trial. Great for backing up your data or cloning your hard drive. It is a tool I use constantly in my business. And RoboForm is a tool I use constantly just for my own self, including business and personal use. So that's why I reached out to them. They didn't reach out to me. I reached out to them, said, hey, could we work together? And could you offer my audience a discount on your great price anyway? Could you incentivize them? Give them a free trial. Let them see for themselves how it works. Come on my show. Let's do a demonstration. I don't want you to just believe me. I want to demonstrate it, and I want to encourage you to decide for yourself. And the only way you're going to know that is by having some experience. And you don't need to pay for it to have that experience. Get the free trial. If you don't agree with me, that's great, but at least you know from experience rather than hearsay. VIP CDK deals for legal Windows and Office keys. Once again, a 30% discount for you guys. If they don't offer you guys a discount, you don't see me promoting them in my video notes, right? So like today, right now there's a discount on Amazon for anybody watching this video made aware of that, not specifically for me. But they did send us the product in exchange for an honest review, and that's all I'm looking for. Companies that are confident that they don't feel the need to control the review or to review the review before we air it. So we do this live and unscripted so that it's as genuine and as authentic as sharing the unboxing and setup experience with you in real time with my misunderstandings or my mistakes, because that's how the world works. As a professional technician, I do that every day. That's what keeps me interested, and I figure it out every single time. And then sometimes I figure it out quickly, sometimes I figure it out slowly, but I never walk away from it and I never give up. And that keeps the job from getting boring. That is the ultimate game to play, let me tell you. Keeps your mind going. And when something is very familiar and you just do it without looking, it makes it look so easy. People go, man, how did he get so smart? It's not that I got smart. It's that I've done it 100 times before. You do it 100 times. You sit at a piano and play a song that you've never played before. And now play it 100 times more, and let's compare the first time you played it to the 100th time you played it. You're going to get better, right? So thank you guys for watching. Thank you to all the members for supporting the channel, all the super chats. Oh, I never checked the phone. Silly me. Here's my email. Bull142 sent an Amazon gift card of $25. Thank you, Bull142. Frankie B sends a very generous Amazon gift card. Our friend Frankie B out of New York. Thank you so much, Frankie, as always. What an amazing community. The members we have here, just the best of the best. When you look out on the internet and you see all the terrible things people do and say to each other, what we have here is special. And we certainly hope if you're not a part of it, we'd love to have you as a part of it. We'd love to see more like-minded individuals. There's lots of room for growth here. If you'd like to join us, we certainly welcome you if you're kind. And supporting the channel keeps us from having to get a corporate sponsor that controls what I say. I just don't want to do that. I'm not that guy. I think that catches me up. All right. So once again, a shout out and a thank you to Acronis, RoboForm, and VIP CDK deals. All those discounts and links are in the video notes below the video. The build for this spaceship computer that we did a while back, that video link is in the video notes. Be sure and read those notes. Mara spends a lot of time in there getting them just right, getting all the spelling right, making it legible and paragraphs and spacing. It's a lot of work. So please don't ignore it. There's a lot of information in there. And of course, thanks to all of you for hanging out with me today. Great chat room. As long as it stays great like this, we'll keep it open. And the GL.iNet, thank you guys for sending the router. That'll wrap it up for me for today. We will see you all again tomorrow. Every Friday at 1 p.m. Pacific time, we do a live public video. And tomorrow we have something very special coming up. It's the Minis Forum MS A1. I'm not even going to give you a sneak peek. I'll let you Google it. Can't wait to get my hands on it. I'll see you tomorrow at 1 p.m. Pacific time, 4 p.m. Eastern. Until then, bye for now.